Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Sassy Stuff. I'm Emma,
And I'm Blythe.
and we're here to talk to you about all things college football. Let's get to it. So, Blythe, this week in the SEC, we got the Red River Rivalry. Say that 10 times fast. You can't.
Red River Rivalry. Can't
Red
do
River,
it.
Red River, yeah, you can't do it. But it wasn't as entertaining as we might have hoped because Texas absolutely steamrolled Oklahoma, ending with the score 34-3. And now this is one of the most lopsided outcomes in the Red River rivalry or the Red River shootout, whatever you want to call it. And Texas just secured its fourth largest win against Oklahoma, but at least Oklahoma scored this year like they didn't in 2022. So
Right.
a little bit better.
Right. Yes. Now Texas moves to 6-0. And this was probably one of the ugliest performances this thus far for Oklahoma. And I think, obviously in those types of games, you prepare for the unexpected, but I think this go around the expected happened. And, I feel like there's so much left that we still have to see for this Texas team moving forward. Obviously they still have to play Georgia and a couple other hard competitors right now in the SEC. So it'll be exciting to see moving forward how this team progresses and if they do to make it to that college football playoff.
Absolutely. And it was so sad for Oklahoma in this game because they started off so strong. They
It
forced
did.
three and outs. They snagged an interception from Quinn Ewers, but the offense was just crickets. It just wasn't there. And they did have a lot of injuries. I think their top three wide receivers were out, a couple running backs as well. So that's not going to help you in any which way playing against this Texas team. And then the Longhorns kicked it into gear in the second quarter thanks to a standout performance from their player Trey Weissner. He had explosive runs, and the Oklahoma defense absolutely collapsed under him. And this was a comeback as well for Quinn Ewers, who's been out the last two games for Texas. He did have a shaky start. His first throw was a pick. There were a few you missed that moments, but he settled in and he led his team to a big victory.
Yes, they did. I think for Oklahoma, like Coach V said, in his post game interview, he talked about how, you had to create opportunities and they just didn't. And, you hate to see that at any time, but especially in a game like that in a crucial, second half when Texas did kind of take the lead full speed and there was no turning back. In the first half, you kind of thought they'd come back and, since they led the whole game, but, that second half, they just didn't get it done.
Not at all. And Michael Hopkins Jr., the Oklahoma QB, he just seemed like he was in over his head. It just wasn't happening for him. They took 10 tackles for a loss and 4 sacks. It was bad. And Hopkins scrambled the entire time, and they just had absolutely zero explosive plays. And when you're playing up against a great team like Texas, who is healthy and who is strong on both sides of the ball, you got to be explosive to make anything happen here. Well, the next game I have to look at is that Bama South Carolina game. Now, in Kalen DeBoer's post-game press conference, he just said there were just so many times where we talk about finding a way to win. But it was like, no, it's more like Alabama found so many ways to nearly lose. South Carolina was handing them this game. Lenore Sellers fumbled in the third quarter. South
Mhm.
Carolina missed a field goal in an attempt to take the lead. They missed a 2-point conversion to tie. They failed to get it done after recovering an onside kick. I mean, the percentage for that is so low. And their onside kick was very impressive. It kind of looked like a soccer kick. Um,
Yes.
football, my dad's English. A football kick where it slanted around and just doubled on the floor. And I was like, that was going right to a Bama player, and they just did not get it. And then the Gamecocks did not capitalize on that opportunity. So Alabama really should be thanking the heavens that there were some questionable calls and that South Carolina couldn't get it done despite having a stronger performance overall throughout the night.
They did. It's just South Carolina has just not gotten to that point where they can put the game away. I think problem for them has always been just getting from good to great, just getting over that hump. And they're really going to have to figure that out. I don't know if that's a coaching problem or just different playmakers. Hopefully, when they get a new athletic director, they'll be able to kind of work out those kinks. But for Alabama, they survived, but that's not saying much. And going forward, they're playing Tennessee this upcoming weekend, and their schedule's not going to get any easier. So if you're an Alabama fan, obviously you might can lose one more game and still stay in that playoff picture. But, I think to feel comfortable moving forward, especially losing or winning the way they did, this was an unranked football team that marched right into your stadium, almost won. I don't know. They're gonna have to show me a lot more. I feel like for me to feel like they should be up there in that Final Four, or even honestly top 10 at this point.
I think the logo has a lot to do with it of why they're in the top 10. I think if you slapped a Missouri logo on this, they might be 12 or 13. And South Carolina, let's give them credit. They clearly took notes from Vanderbilt's playbook. Um, they exposed Bama's weakness, and Bama did not have a response yet again for the thing that they just faced a week prior. And Lenore Sellers did have an impact. I just think he's young and he still needs to grow in this system. They won, but I mean, we're not going to break out the confetti for you guys. They're not a ranked team. They're not a powerhouse team. Um, and you did start out well. I mean, the Georgia game, the first half was one of the most dominant performances I've ever seen from Bama, and then it went away. And I was like, what is happening? Is Georgia just having a resurgence? Like, what is going on? And then nothing was really fixed. And then you kind of had a Hail Mary victory at the end there. Then you lose to Vanderbilt. Absolutely no progress, a total regression on both sides of the ball. I mean, Jalen Milbrow is to blame here for a lot of what happened in Vandy and a lot of what happened this week in South Carolina. He did redeem himself with a rushing touchdown, but he did throw an interception as well. It's not great for him. And you were looking at this offense, you were like, okay, the defense can't show up, but the offense can at least put points on the board. They just haven't been able to do that recently. They haven't been that dominant force they were in those first few games of the season. It's like, guys, what's going on? Like, we got to get the pace. It's you can't do this going forward. They have Tennessee, Missouri, Oklahoma, LSU, Auburn, and those Tennessee and LSU games are not at home. They have to go on the road for those games. It's not looking great, and the safety blanket is gone. Whether Nick Saban
It is. That's
whether
right.
Nick Saban was able to win against a team or not, you felt good going into the game because, oh, Nick Saban's driving the show. I mean, like, Nick Saban's there.
That's right.
I it's
He's
fine.
driving the
It's
bus.
fine. I have no faith anymore. I go in there, I can't eat during the
Yeah.
games. I'm just sitting there like, "What is gonna happen? Are we gonna be good? Are we gonna be bad?" And then this one was kind of like, "Oh, we started great." I was like, "Oh, we're good now." And then it's like, "No, you can't even bring that blanket back up. It's gone. It is gone this year." And
This
Bama
one definitely caught me off guard because I think when we talked about it last week, we kind of thought this, obviously, Bama being Bama, that wouldn't happen to a Bama team twice, much less once, but twice, you can forget it. Especially Nick Saban doing the bus, ain't no way.
well, you gotta ask yourself, is it a culture problem? Because obviously they played the logo in Georgia. They were like, "This is Georgia. We're gonna fight. We're gonna be gritty. We're gonna win." They played the logo in Vandy and they played the logo in South Carolina. They said, "This isn't gonna be hard. We're Bama. We're bigger than them. We have more stars on our name than them, and we're just gonna come in there and dominate." And it's like, guys, you have to be prepared. This is the SEC. This is the time of the NIL and the transfer portal. Like, anything can happen. And it's just gonna keep being an upset week after week, and I think Bama fans were naive in the fact that they thought it could just be business as usual. They've been used to it for the past 17 years, but no, there's gonna be some growing pains, and it is definitely painful, um, but they avoided their second straight upset, but there's a lot to fix before Knoxville.
And that game is going to be an absolute thriller, probably.
Well, Bama knows what happened the last time they went to Knoxville, they lost. And then they took Dixieland Delight right from them. So they won't want that to happen again, but who knows with this team? Better buckle up.
You
It's
better
gonna be a
buckle up.
bumpy ride.
Maybe 2 seatbelts buckled up.
Exactly.
It's gonna be wild.
Well, speaking of Tennessee almost lost again too to the Florida Gators nonetheless.
I cannot take these overtime games. I have no one in this fight, and I still can't do it. Like, no way this is happening again. No way.
well, I mean, October 5th was absolutely amazing, and then October 12th, which was this week, which is the week everyone was excited for, those night games, I had it in multi-view, they were all, like, down to the wire, they were all, like they were amazing. As
Insane.
a college football fan, I thank you for your service, that was a great night of football. Uh, but the Gators in this game had such a strong defense,
They
but
did.
I mean, they just fell short due to poor play calling and very critical mistakes. They just couldn't capitalize on the momentum they had during this game, and now they have a 3-3 record and a 1-2 in the SEC. They are clearly out. Um,
Yeah,
However, I think if Graham Mertz, their QB, and Montrell Johnson Jr., their running back, if they did not get injured and were taken out of this game, I think Florida was going to take this,
yeah,
and that's very scary for
that
Tennessee
is
moving
right.
forward.
Yeah, that is, and like we say every week, you really don't know, and that's why you got to be ready to play. Obviously, this is a game of inches. This is SEC football.
It's like you gotta play the man in front of you. I think everybody goes in there being like, "Oh, I'm playing Florida this week. It's not gonna
Yeah,
be that hard." They did that against Arkansas too. They're like, "Well, Arkansas is nothing." No, guys, this is the SEC. Let's gear up. Let's play
clean
this
after
game.
it.
Yeah. And then if you get too far behind, you get too rattled, you're not coming back from that.
No,
But I blame Napier for a lot of the problems in this game. He didn't challenge a bad spot. He had repetitive screen passes. He had very predictable play callings. I think his days are numbered. Well, I know his days are numbered. He's not lasting there another year. Florida
no.
needs a new restart. They need a new head coach there to revitalize that program. That is such a strong program
Program, I know it's
in
so
the history of the SEC, and it's sad to see what it is now.
it's been too conservative, I think.
It is, and we want Florida to be back to what they were in the SEC, and it's just not happening under Napier. But for Tennessee, they're gonna give fans their heart palpitations this October. It's been 2 straight weeks of SEC matchups that have gone down to the wire. Arkansas definitely upset them, and they barely escaped this week. So going to Bama, what's gonna happen? I don't know.
I
I
know we talk about a lot how
more.
in football it's going to be a November to remember, but this is going to be an October to remember too.
Oh, yeah.
'Cause this, I think, has been probably the wildest October in the last couple of years, I think, as a fan.
Oh,
Even
yeah.
just thinking about last year, like, I just don't think it was this chaotic last year. If
I
I
don't
can
think
remember
so
anything, I
either.
just don't think it was. I don't remember it being like this.
I mean, I think with all of the NIL and the transfer portal, and then this being the first year with that 12-team playoff, there's just so much more on the line. And you look at teams like Ole Miss, who are now a two-loss team. Technically, they still could have a chance if they won out to go to the 12-team playoff. So their season's not over, whereas last year it would have been. Um, Same with LSU. They had a shaky start opening up in this year, and they're back in it. They've had a resurgence. There's a fresh new perspective on that team, and with a one loss, they're totally fine to get into those playoffs. They might even make it to the SEC championship at the end of the day. So it has been an absolutely crazy season so far. We're only halfway through. So
What a thriller that was in Death Valley. Top 15 matchup last night. Homecoming, night game. Wow. Another
it was
thriller.
crazy.
Yeah. And we
Absolutely.
actually picked LSU, so good for us. All of our games that we picked were all W's, so
Yeah, even the Vandy pick,
yeah,
which I'm so happy about.
I'm so
Um,
happy about that.
yeah,
I think for sure one thing to know is that Diego can flat out ball. And if you're not buying into Vanderbilt right now, I don't know what you're doing. but I'm balled in.
They're on a roll right now. I mean, Vanderbilt won 20-13 to Kentucky, who has like the fifth best defense in all of college football right now. So Kentucky now falls 1-3 in SEC play, 3-3 overall. It's just not a promising start for Kentucky.
Just could
Where
not get out of their own way. 8 penalties
ever
in the first half, 12 total for the whole entire game. They just could not get out of their own way.
they had
Uh,
a false start on the goal on the 1 yard line. I'm like, what are you guys doing?
yeah,
Just push it in. Diego did 15 out of 18 passes, 134 yards, 2 touchdowns. He did have an interception there, but he carved up this Kentucky defense that has been so strong this entire time. And Brock Vandergriff, Kentucky's QB, he just struggled. He wasn't able to put the game away.
and that makes 2 losses in a row at home for Kentucky.
Yep.
How do you bounce back from that?
You at this point in the year, you can't.
I don't think you do either.
Not for Kentucky, at least.
I
It's
don't think you do either.
You're looking to next year now. You're looking to a bowl game. And Vandy, they've gone from now a scrappy underdog to a don't mess with us kind
Yeah.
of team. Like, we're a real big deal here in the SEC. And I like Diego. He plays unafraid. He knows what he is. He knows he's good.
Exactly. That confidence is just you're not going to. I just don't think you're going to rattle this guy right now. I
No,
think
and everybody moving forward is going to be like, no, I'm going to be the guy to shut down Vandy. Like, okay, little brother, sit down. You're not the king of the SEC. But I mean, Diego's sitting there like,
why not me? Why not us? I
exactly. And
love
you know
that.
what? I'm rooting for him all the way. You know what? It'll make Bama look better too.
Let's see 'em. Let's see that black and gold ride all the way.
It's awesome. I mean, why not Vandy?
Yeah.
Anything can happen in the SEC. This is a whole new terrain. We have the 12-team playoff now. Why not them? Why not? Granted, they'd still have to play like Texas and Auburn. Auburn hasn't done great, but they still have to play these big SEC teams. I know they have to play LSU as well. So they're going to have some tough games up
Yeah.
ahead, but they're scrappy, man.
They
I
are.
like them a lot.
I like them too, and it's fun. I feel like we should insert "We Want Bandy" sign right here.
Absolutely.
Bandy.
I think Oregon during the
They did. They had a
they
sign.
were, "We want Vandy," and then Nick Saban said, "Be careful what you wish for."
I know, and I'm like, well, do you really want Bandy? I don't know. Ask Bama. Do you think they wanted Bandy? I don't think so.
No, not after the game for sure.
No.
Now I do want to go back to Ole Miss for a second.
Yes.
Their problem was just these costly mistakes. They had
Yeah.
a dropped 80-yard touchdown. They missed a 32-yard field goal. They were just playing a game of how not to score.
Yeah.
Jackson Dart was under severe pressure all night. He got sacked 6 times. They could not help their quarterback in any way. And Jackson Dart has proved to be a fantastic quarterback, but the
Yeah.
offense seemed out of sync the entire night, and LSU was able to capitalize on that. So LSU has definitely found a resurgence for college football playoff contention, maybe even SEC championship contention.
Yeah.
And Brian Kelly's preparation is finally showing off. Whereas Ole Miss kind of missed an opportunity, but the loss definitely hurts their playoff chances. And I really don't know where they go from here because they do have some tough matchups coming up. I know they play Georgia, and I just don't think they're going to get it done this year. The competition is way
Yeah.
too stiff, especially in the SEC. I mean, the SEC is just eating each other alive. And you look at that game, which we all expected might be a close victory for whichever team. But then you also look at a game like Georgia and Mississippi State,
Yeah.
where you were like, well, Georgia's going to steamroll Mississippi State, but it was a narrow victory, 41-31. It's like, what
Yeah.
is going on?
It makes you really wonder, like, who is actually good? Like,
Exactly.
who is overrated? Like, who are we talking about that's just overrated? And then who is the underrated team? Like, who is the sleeper? Like, who has been the most consistent and has stayed the most consistent? Because I feel like there's just so many teams right now that are just teeter-tottering back and forth, like in and out. Like I don't know. I really just honestly, I feel like it's going to take me another week to really have my top 10 laid out.
I'm right there with you. I think next week we're going to start going into our predictions for that 12-team playoff. And after this game against Mississippi State, I think Georgia's confidence might have taken a hit because they had a 1 point victory against Kentucky. Then they lost to Bama. Now they're have a narrow victory over Mississippi State, who's at the bottom of the SEC right now. This just doesn't look good for them. It might not feel great for them either. I know Kirby Smart was a little riled up in
Yeah.
that game. There's a video I saw where he literally shoved one of Mississippi State's players out of the way to get to the referee. Like, they
Um,
are mad, and I don't think they know what to do. Um, you look at everything that's happened with that program, and it seems like there might be a mild culture problem, but I also think that that might be across the board because all
yeah.
these people are doing this now for who pays them the most, who's going to give them the nicest car, and they jump from team to team. I feel like a lot of teams and a lot of players aren't fully buying into where they are now, and
No.
that could be what's happening with Georgia. So that could be what's happening with Bama, like all these teams.
Yeah,
Like,
we were talking about that the other day. I was talking about that with someone. I said, "Remember when you would bring recruits on a visit and you would show them your trophy case, and now
yeah,
people show you cars and things and material things? Like, it's just not about the winning and developing as a person and a man anymore. It's just I almost just think the NIL has kind of ruined college football. And being a college football fan that loves watching football for the passion and the tradition that I think personally just the NFL kind of lacks, I feel like college is going in that direction. And as a fan that, like I said, loves that tradition and all the rich traditions that the college teams and towns have, like I just don't want college football to stir away from that because that really is what makes it so special. I mean, we have so many great stories to tell of all of these different student athletes, and I think that's the biggest part for me. That's the issue is they're students first. They're a student athlete, so why are we not putting more emphasis on these students graduating and progressing as a man, as a person? What are you doing in the community? Like it's not all about the game. Like obviously we all want to win, but you can't win them all. There's always going to be a winner. There's always going to be a loser. But the best moments are through all the wins and losses, what you learn, the people you meet, the people you inspire, the young kid who's watching at home that's just dreaming of that moment of just running down the hill, like when we were talking to Judah Davis last week, or playing in an SEC championship when we talked to the girls later on from Vanderbilt today. That's what really matters. And I hope that, college football still stays that for, all the fans and all the young fans that one day want to be in that same position.
absolutely. I couldn't have said it better myself. I mean, you're looking at the landscape now, and it's sad because you're
Mhm.
breaking up conferences that have been there forever. I mean, look at the Pac-12. Look at the SEC now at 16
Yeah,
teams, the Big Ten at 18 teams, I believe. That's only gonna get bigger. I mean,
yeah,
these are the 2 biggest conferences, and then you're looking at these other conferences, and you're like, "Well, what's going on?" And then
yeah,
this, model that's in place right now of you get your, 4 conference winners
yeah,
are definitely in, or I guess 5 conference winners, are definitely in. That's only there for 2 years
yep,
as a guarantee. After that, I think it's just gonna be the top 12
yep,
best teams, so goodbye G5.
yeah,
Um, and then you're gonna have maybe 7 SEC teams,
mhm,
maybe 1 ACC team, and the rest Big Ten, maybe 1 Pac-12 in there. It's just not what it used to be. So
no,
while there's a lot of good because players should absolutely
yes,
benefit off of their own name, image, and likeness, there's also a lot of negative that goes along with it, and there's growing pains throughout it all. Nobody knows what's gonna happen moving forward. But right now, it's just something that coaches have to deal with. And
yeah,
that's again why I love Dabo Sweeney so much because he really makes his players buy into the culture.
yes,
And I think Georgia's problem at the moment is I think players are looking at it more as money and a quick trip to the NFL. And if that's your MO, then fine, but that's not what people love about college football.
yeah,
Unfortunately, that is kind of where it's going.
Yeah.
But looking at Georgia, moving forward, they did have some bad injuries. Branson Robinson, he left with a knee injury. He's out for the foreseeable future, which is not good for the team. Also, Georgia center missed his second straight game. Their defensive tackle, Jordan Hall, didn't see any action. Mikael Williams played sparingly. It's just not looking good on the injury report for them as well right now. And they need to clean up these mistakes fast because they have that big road game against Texas next week. And
Yeah.
Texas looks really good. And if their defense did what,
Yeah.
or in all those points that they gave to Mississippi State to Texas, Texas is going to steamroll them. It's going to look like the Red River Rivalry again.
I'm not sold on Georgia. I honestly haven't been since week one. I honestly wish Clemson could get another shot and play Georgia because I think it'd be a whole
Now that
different
Cade's
outcome.
a game manager.
Yeah, I think this would be a whole different outcome. I haven't really been sold on them from day one. I think from the get go, ESPN playoff, everybody's kind of wrote this story about Georgia and really hyped them up at the beginning of the year, like they do, like a couple of teams. We always know that you got to have something to talk about when you do this kind of thing, but to hype them up that much, I don't know. I'm not balled in on the Georgia train yet.
No, I'm not either. It's going to be very telling after this week.
Yeah.
They still would have a path to the playoff, maybe not the SEC championship. If they lose to Texas, I think they have Ole Miss might be their next toughest game after that. Um, but also this year in the SEC has just been absolutely insane. They're eating each other alive out there. Ole Miss lost to Kentucky. They
Yep.
lost to Georgia, South Carolina, and Vandy. Bama beat Georgia, but also lost to Vandy. Vandy almost beat Missouri in overtime, and Missouri lost to lost to Texas A&M. Arkansas beat Tennessee and Auburn. It's just like, what's
It's like
happening?
this. My brain's like, what?
I don't know like how to compartmentalize all of this.
Yeah.
And I'm also sitting there like, well, who's going to be top of the SEC? Because right now it's Texas A&M, and you're like, wait, what? Didn't they lose
What?
to Notre Dame in week one? Like they weren't anything. Like, but they're the top of the SEC. I think Texas is right behind them, and it's just like, what is going to happen in the second half of the regular season? It's just absolutely insane. And then what is going to happen with that 12-team playoff?
Yeah.
I don't know. They're eating each other alive out there, and it's so exciting to watch. I
It
do love
is exciting. But I want to enjoy this. But it is nice that it is the 12-team playoff because then that means we get more football.
it. It's more football, guys. That's why I love overtime. Free football, of course.
Yes, free football.
Free football.
Now we have
Um,
a whole month of January for football, which is amazing. I'm
and
so
then pretty much all of February with the NFL.
yes. We're so excited to have you guys on today. These two are both former women's soccer players at Vanderbilt. And I just want to start off by asking you guys, what was it like being a student athlete at Vanderbilt?
For me, I think it was a time. I think it was a lot of kind of finding the balance between soccer and academics at such a academically rigorous school. But I think just finding the balance and finding the time, it was an adjustment at first, but you get used to it and you're there to work essentially. So I think you get used to it.
Yeah. What about you?
I would say somebody needs to like let's be FF or let's be for real when we get there. Like let us know what we're getting ourselves into.
Mhm.
Yeah.
My teammates love them down, love everyone. Wouldn't be there without them. But it was an interesting experience. Like it's just like you get thrown a lot of things at once and you're so young. And so just like being able to have like a guiding hand, which a little bit more of a guiding hand would definitely be beneficial. And then also coming into our school and it's just so rigorous academically, you get thrown a lot of obstacles at yourself there. So it was it was it was a journey, that's for sure.
Yeah. So what was like a typical day for you guys? Like, do you have like a study hall and then you go to practice? Do you workouts? Like what is kind of the flow of being a women's soccer player at Vanderbilt?
If I could think about it, so the schedule during the season was wake up. If you had treatment in the morning, you would go in at like 6 a.m., 6:30 maybe. After treatment, go to practice, starts at 7:30. After practice, we had weights from like 9, maybe like 8:30 to like 9:30 or whatever. After that, our first class would start at 11, and that was like how it was for I think like all 4 years, except maybe was it senior year we like changed practices a bit around.
Yeah, and we for in the spring too, we would do, like, afternoon practices. So
Oh
you
yeah, yeah,
have
yeah,
classes in the morning, your classes would have to end by, like, 1:30 for the day, and then you would be at,
yeah,
like, treatment by 2, and then we would get done by, like, probably 6, and then you could either
yeah.
take
So
a night class if they were available, or,
yeah.
you were done for the night, and that's when you would study.
Well, obviously, you guys probably follow college football. What has it been like watching your alma mater beat Alabama, this week beat Kentucky? I mean, can y'all believe it?
No, definitely props to them, like, I'm super, super happy for them and everything that they're accomplishing. It's great. I think when we were there, there was work ethic, and I kind of built up, like, a foundation for now, but we were not like this a few years ago, so it's nice to see, everyone rally together and the team just doing well and finally getting, like, the support and, acceptance that we need and deserve.
Yeah, I'm like jealous that I like watching the games. I'm like rooting for them, but then again, I'm like, please don't win because I'm like, we can't be there to celebrate. Like, I'm like, where was this when we were there? I mean, there was times when they did win games, and so we did get to celebrate. But like, I can only imagine being there when they beat Alabama or like when they beat Kentucky. Like, just everyone's going crazy. But then I also think about it as well, and I'm like, would we have been able to even enjoy it with
Yeah,
soccer?
Well, how do
exactly.
you feel about them, like, bringing the goalposts all the way down through your downtown?
That's insane. I don't know how they did that. Like, it was like what I was getting sent videos of them, like, the process of it being, like, dumped downtown. I was like, "How did they even do that, and how did no one stop them?"
No, literally, I was like telling my friends, I was like, oh, it's only like a 1 mile walk or like 3 mile walk. And I'm like, well, realistically, like 3 miles walking isn't that bad. But then I'm like, the amount of nights that, and like, thank God was with me, but I'm like, the amount of nights where I walked back from like Broadway back to the campus, I was like, that's insane. Carrying a goalpost, that's insane. I was like, wearing heels, I was like, that was one in itself, but a
Yeah.
goalpost, there's,
It's no,
With so many
my
people
first thought was like, what are these bachelorette trips thinking who like probably know nothing about sports, don't like football, like you're just ruining their night. They want to sing
Yeah.
karaoke, like they're on the pedal bike, they're drinking, like this essentially probably ruined their bachelorette. Just
I feel like
Yeah.
it ruined it, but I feel like they could go home and be like, "Oh my god, like we got to experience this like on
yeah.
our," and it probably was like really quick too. Like I'm pretty sure the cops were like helping direct them through traffic. Like if it was like and it,
It was
it
like
wasn't
a
super
parade
late.
almost.
If it was like a 12 o'clock or like 11 o'clock that the game ended, actually I can't remember the time. I feel like it was earlier, maybe later. I have no idea. But if it was like around that time, then like okay, that could do some damage in like Broadway because it's
Yeah.
packed in. But I was like, for the most part, they should be fine.
I think it was like 7-ish, so I think they were pretty good.
Not too many people out, or at least it wasn't super super packed then.
Yeah.
Yeah. What is y'all's favorite Vanderbilt tradition for people that, obviously follow college football, follow college, sports, athletics in general? Like, what is a tradition that you guys love that you can share with some of our SEC fans that might not know about Vanderbilt culture and the program and things like that?
For me, I would say before the like, in the locker room before games, just,
Ah,
like, dancing together and, like, singing and, like, just getting, like, prepared for the games. That's, like, something that I'm like when I think of tradition, that's what I think of, like, us all getting together, like, huddling around, dancing, having a good time before, like, we would go out and play.
Yeah. Did you ever have any
yeah.
pregame like superstitions, like favorite snack, favorite like what are you listening to?
I just put the left sock on and then the right sock
Yeah.
on.
What's your secrets?
Um For me, I didn't really have any superstitions except for, I would write my favorite Bible verse on my hand, um, and that's, like, the only thing that I would really follow.
Yeah.
But now I have it
Oh.
tattooed on my arms. Yeah.
I don't have to write it.
Mine, like I thrive off of music. Like that gives me so much life and energy. So
Yeah.
I'm like, what's gonna be like the one thing where I'm like ready to like go out and play? So like I had my headphones in full volume, and then like if the music in the locker room wasn't good, then I had those in. But like when I listen to my music, I would listen to something that like made me want to like punch someone. Cause I'm like when I go out in the field, I'm like, first of all, we're not friends. I'm
Yeah.
trying to win. You don't know what's on the line. Like we need. I'm like, first of all, we need this win because you don't know what practice is gonna be like on Monday. So I'm like, we need this, please, for my mental. So I'm like, I'm listening to like one song I listened to was by Rico Nasty and it was called Smack a B, fill in the blank. And it would just like get me so pumped. I was like, yeah, this is gonna be a good game. Or I would, oh my Becky, take a step back. Oh, that was our locker room. So after the or before we would go to like our pregame talk, the whatever our class was, so whatever class or we had like 11 girls, 10 girls, we would stay back and play Take a Step Back and it was just like such a rager song. Like it would get us so hype. And then Grace would like hang along with us because she was like a year older, but it was like only the exception of her. Like no one else. Everyone had to like clear the locker room.
Yeah, we would also, something that was unique to our team, I think, too, is remember the little notes that we would get before?
Oh my
So we would
god,
Yeah,
yeah.
so someone would be in charge of, like, writing a note before the game, and it would get put in, everyone's locker, and it would just be like, um one of our seniors or one of our captains would like, we're dedicating this game to Olivia because she has been like showing up at practice and doing really well, or like even someone who's not on the team, or like just a way to like all show like what we're fighting for and like why we're playing essentially, and like to highlight a person.
So do you remember what the note said before you guys won the SEC championship?
No.
No.
You're just
No.
overwhelmed
Because it
by
was like
emotion at that point.
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
was like so many other things going on to where it's like the notes like if I think back, the first one we won was what, regular season, Becky?
Yeah, regular season twice and then the SEC championship.
Yeah, regular season is like okay, we knew that one was coming, so it was kind of just like we have to show up and like win the game. Like we were just like let's get
Yeah.
it done. Like otherwise, it's gonna be very sad if we don't win. And then we were like we pretty sure that they have like T-shirts and stuff for us. So
Yeah.
like let's do what needs to be done.
We
And
weren't
then
even, like,
the
knowing
East,
that it was we were gonna win. Like, that game, we were like, we
yeah.
didn't know until, like, halftime if we won the game, we were
Oh
gonna win the
yeah.
SEC. They didn't tell us.
And then the
Oh,
East one that
wow.
we won it at Alabama, and we still had no idea that we were gonna even win it because when they did that, it was a new year, so they never did East champions and West champions. So when we won, we were just like playing, and we were like, okay, like great, we beat Bama, but they're like, no, you guys are East champions, and we were like, what? Like, what even is this? And then the tournament one was like such a blur because COVID, like that's just
So you guys also played with Sarah Fuller, who also kicked for the football team. What was that like, getting to watch your teammate on Saturday kick for the football team? And then eventually get into the College Football Hall of Fame. What was that experience like?
well, God, if they needed somebody, you could have called me, okay? Because what? I'm like, good job, Sarah. But in the moment, I was like so happy for her because I was like, wow, like I didn't realize how much it would take off. Which I
Mm.
mean, like it was a really big deal and still is a really big deal. But I felt more bad for her because the people in the comments, I was like, y'all are nasty. Like, and I was like, one, you hate women. If you hate women, just say that, okay?
Yeah.
Because they were so nasty. And then they were like, go on other pictures that she had, and they were just like comment nasty things, and I was like, okay, like it's so nice to see like the fame that she's getting, but then it's like when you see the nasty side of it, it's just like dang, like was this even worth it? But honestly, she was like the perfect person for it because Sarah is so mentally strong where she would see a comment and just be like idiot and then just like keep going about her day.
Yeah, I think that she has so much, like, courage for doing that and, like, stepping up, but also all of the negativity that she got after it, it was kind of hard for her to even be able to be proud of her accomplishments because of all the hate online and stuff that she would get. So just, like, I can't even imagine what she went through and, like, the strength and stuff that it took for her to even process all of that and do that. So I'm still super proud of her for it.
Yeah, that's really cool. That's really cool that you guys got to experience that and watch her. And I mean, where do you guys see the future of women's sports going? Like, what do you see that going in a good direction, a bad direction? Like, what would be your message that you would want to get across for women's sports?
I mean, I think I see it like taking off, honestly. Like
Yeah,
with basketball, that was huge, and now everyone's now attending WNBA shows,
yeah,
and
yeah.
tickets are selling out, and they're costing like a good, pretty penny to go. Shout out if anyone has any tickets, please. I want to see Ellie in New York, please. She's like I'm like her biggest fan. I've never been obsessed with a mascot before, but even like with like women's soccer, like the USL league just opened up, and Tampa has a team that's out there, and it's like huge. Like I see so many people in the stands and in the crowd, and I'm like, wow, like there's so much support. I mean, it's still up and coming. It's like, or not up and coming, but it's their first year that they're doing this. So some clubs don't have really like the same fan base, but just to like start out and see that a number of people attending, it's just really positive and like good to see, because it's like, okay, maybe if we have this league, then maybe there's a possibility of another league opening up, or like even more teams adding to the I guess not roster, but the teams that they have.
I think that even a lot of young girls are looking at college athletes or NWSL, USL, all of those things as role models and kind of driving them to want to aspire to be that and show like it is possible.
Yeah.
So I do have a lot of hope for women's sports in the future. I think that with that, I think there has to be a lot of acknowledgement for the mental health aspect of it and just getting more funding for that,
Mhm.
because I think with the exposure and social media and everything like that, it's great. It's such a great platform for student athletes, female athletes, but at the same time, it brings a lot more of a mental aspect and mental health that needs to be addressed.
I think that's beautiful, is bringing in more
Mhm.
mental health awareness to these programs, especially with how popular like Twitter and Instagram and all the comments people like to make.
What's one thing you would go back and tell your freshman self?
Don't ask
Oh
me that question.
gosh.
What would you tell an up and coming college freshman that's going to be playing soccer and balancing being a student athlete? What's one thing, I mean, you wish somebody would have told you going into it?
I would say to not put so much pressure on yourself. Like, you don't have to be perfect. You're playing because you love to play. You get the opportunity to play here and make, like, great connections, great friends, have a successful, like, championships with and career, but I would say to just remind yourself that you don't have to be perfect and
Yeah.
to enjoy it.
Yeah. When I got there, everybody that's like older adults, they would be like, "Oh my God, college was the best 4 years of my life," and I would be like, "Shut up!" Like actually, like I'm like, this cannot be the best 4 years. I'm like, you're only this young. I'm like, when you get more money, like it just can't be. But now I'm like talking to my parents, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm like, I'm one of those people. Like college was like probably the best 4 years of my
Yes.
life. Like, 'cause it's like every year it's like, well, one, being so close to your friends, like we get to walk to each other's dorms. I'm
Yeah.
not walking to anyone's dorm. I'm not walking down the street, okay? So I'm like, if I had to tell a freshman now, I would say like every moment that you have, like really like cherish it, because it's never going to be the same ever again. And every like experience, like not to get like super sappy and stuff, but like every like little things, like dancing in the locker room, like study hall time, like going to like practice, like walking from practice, like practice, like ranting about weights, like all that little stuff. Like in the moment, you're like, oh my gosh, like I can't wait for this to be over. Or I can't wait for it to be summertime. I want to go home. I miss my parents. But it's like those moments, like won't be replaced ever again. Like you can't make those moments ever again. You can't be the same age. You can't be the same physique. You won't have the same like fitness. Like none of that's ever gonna be the same. So like all those little moments, like while you complain, afterwards, just like be grateful and like just like blessed to like even have that experience. Like if you had a crappy practice, be like, yeah, I hate practice. I want to quit soccer. And then the next morning be like, okay, like I still love it. Like and I like am so happy to like be here. So just like every moment, just like take so much gratitude and like be blessed to be there.
Yeah, I love that. So, what are you guys up to now?
I'm a behavior analyst at an autism center, so I work on implementing behavior
Children.
analytics strategies with kids to help them gain functional communication and daily living skills. Yeah, living in New Jersey.
I'm what you call it. I am a social media manager for a soccer club, and then I coach soccer and I volunteer assist at a not a, but I volunteer assist at Florida Institute of Technology for their women's soccer program. I thought I wanted to like get into being a consultant, and then I did it, and I was like, I actually hate my life. I hate it here. I don't want to be here. So I was like, and I kind of like always deep down wanted to be a college coach. Like I would joke and be like, oh my gosh, like they make it so hard. Like it's really not that hard. Like come on, like I was like, come on. I was like, I could do this. But then I was like, okay, like I went to Vanderbilt. Like I got this like prestigious degree. Like I was like, why would I like waste like these 4 years? And like everyone like hypes it up so much. So then I was like, okay, let's like try it out. Hated it. And now I'm like trying to get back into the coaching world. So I'm like getting my coaching license and then starting the path to become a head coach at a university.
Oh,
That's
that's
fantastic.
awesome. That would be awesome. But my last question for y'all, obviously this is an SEC show, the saying it just means more. What does it mean to play in the SEC? Like what did it mean to y'all? I mean, how much more really is it?
I think it's one of the most competitive leagues in the country. I mean, it's an honor to be able to play in it, and I think that our conference specifically for soccer was very difficult. So I think just always like giving it 100%, like you're playing for to represent your university and like playing for your teammates and stuff. So just like giving it your all always.
Like I have two ways to think about it. Like it means more in the sense of like yeah, playing the SEC, there was like the top of the league and like playing against like really good people. So that was exciting and it means more because when you win against a big team, then that's just like a great win. But I think it like means more in the sense of for me, like my teammates, like
Yeah.
going out into the field, like I was like putting my body on the line for them because like when we're at practice, like going through things together and like it's like you have a crappy practice or you have a good practice. It's like seeing each other like go through these like tough experiences and like hate to say it but like trauma bonding with each other. It's like you
Yeah.
really are like oh my gosh, like we're in this together. So it's like when we go on the field, it's like I'm playing for them because it's like if I don't give my all, then it's like they won't be able to like get their all, and then it's just like I don't want to let them down. So like I would say it means more to me playing with my teammates and like playing with them on the field and doing my best for them because we're all in it together, and like I don't want to let them down before I like let my coach down. I'd rather let my coach down before my teammates and
Yeah.
my friends, and
Yeah.
that's just how it is. But yeah.
I like that. I love that perspective. I love that. Well, thank y'all so much for hopping on with us today. I think the proper way to end this.
Anchored.
Thank you, yeah, I love it.
Glenn and I have been talking about we are so into Vandy football this year. We're rooting for their success. Diego Pavia, their QB, is just a monster. He's
Yeah.
dynamite. So we're excited to see
Yeah,
where
where did he
they're
come
going.
from? I'm like
And
confused.
I'm like, where did you get him? New Mexico. That's where they got him. But like,
He's an absolute
play.
playmaker, though. Playmaker.
And the best thing about Vandy is not only is it a great team, but you get a great piece of paper at the end of the day. That's probably
Oh,
the best feeling.
Yeah. Plus, I want them to win too because the amount of crap, like being friends with the football players, like just seeing how much crap they got crapped on by like random people, or like
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, you guys are like crapping on these kids, and I'm like, you don't realize like what they have to go through, and then also like they're playing in like the toughest league in the
Yeah.
nation, also. So it's like okay, I get you're mad, but I'm like, you're sitting on your couch critiquing young men. Like, get out here and do it. Cause like even now, I like tried to play a soccer the other day, and I was like, I don't have it in me. Like, I have no room to talk about none of these girls on the field. Cause I'm like,
All these
I
Twitter
can't do
kids.
that. It's gonna take me 3 months.
There's too many Twitter coaches out there.
Literally, Twitter fingers.
Yeah, that's it. That's it.
Well, thank you guys so much for watching this week's episode of Sassy Stuff. Blythe and I will be on here again later this week, breaking down week 8 of college football in the SEC. So check us out there. Like, comment, subscribe. And I want to thank again Becky and Olivia for joining us today for our sideline stories. We'll see you later. Bye.
Yeah.